All right, so today we're doing a deep dive into self-improvement, but with a bit of a twist.
Yeah, definitely a
We're
twist.
looking at how we can pursue growth,
Yeah,
you know, wanting to better ourselves, but without
right.
falling into this trap of putting ourselves down.
Yeah,
So we're talking about finding the balance,
yeah.
embracing self-improvement without self-rejection, a piece that, you shared with me. And
Yes.
that's what made me want to talk about it,
Right.
honestly. Have you ever felt that pressure, the pressure to constantly be better,
All the time.
but then it ends up just making you feel
Worse.
worse about yourself? Yeah,
Yeah, like you're not doing enough. You're not average.
exactly. And that's what I thought was so interesting about this piece. It's saying that, like, self-improvement shouldn't make you feel bad about yourself.
Yeah.
It shouldn't make you feel like you're not good enough as you are right now.
It's almost like we've come to think that self-improvement has to come with a side of self-criticism,
Yes. And the source really digs into that.
which I think is fascinating.
It is. It says that, you know, the more we buy into this idea of needing to constantly fix ourselves,
Right.
the more we end up actually just like rejecting who we are.
It's like we're so focused on becoming this perfect future version of ourselves
Right, right.
that we completely miss out on appreciating and accepting who we are in this moment.
Right.
Like right here, right now.
There was this one line that really got me thinking. Uh, Many people mistake relentless self-criticism for motivation.
Ooh, that's a good one.
What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, it's easy to fall into that trap, right?
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
think that we have to be hard on ourselves, to push ourselves forward. But I think what happens is when we're constantly being negative, that self-talk,
Hmm.
it starts to chip away at us.
Right.
We might see those short-term results, but long-term, I think it can lead to burnout and,
Yeah.
that sense of just feeling inadequate.
Absolutely. It makes me think about, the idea of self-rejection that they keep bringing up in this piece.
Yeah, yeah.
Have you ever noticed yourself doing some of the things that they talk about, like
Oh, yeah.
um, constantly comparing yourself to other people?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Or like never feeling like my accomplishments are good enough. Like there's always,
Always something more.
yeah, got to do more. Got to be more.
So how do we step back from that, right? Like how do we pursue self-improvement in this healthier way?
That's the big question, isn't it?
It is.
And I think the source has some good strategies for that.
It does. One of the things they suggest is setting what they call kind goals. What does that even mean?
So it's about like shifting our perspective. Instead of always judging ourselves, we try to approach things with a little more self-compassion.
Okay.
So like instead of setting goals that are all about, external validation, like getting a promotion or fitting into a certain size, we try to focus on things that are about genuine personal growth.
I see. I see. So it takes the pressure off
Yeah.
of achieving some standard
Right.
and more about just
Yeah, it's more about becoming the best version of yourself
right.
rather than trying to fit into someone else's mold.
That makes so much sense.
And it's also about celebrating the little wins, every step forward, recognizing the effort, acknowledging the progress, rather than always focusing on what we haven't accomplished yet.
Oh, I love that.
It's progress over perfection.
Yeah,
Right?
that's it. It's about the journey,
Yeah.
not just the destination.
Huh.
Okay. So kind goals, that's a big one.
Huge.
What else does the source talk about?
Well, it talks a lot about practicing self-compassion,
Okay.
which kind of goes hand in hand with what we were talking about before, with that negative self-talk.
Right.
Self-compassion is like the antidote to that.
Yeah.
It's about treating ourselves with the same kindness and understanding that we would offer a friend.
That's such a good way to put it because
Yeah.
it's so easy to be our own worst critic,
Mhm. It's like we forget to be our own best friends sometimes. Would you berate a friend for making a mistake?
No.
So why do we do it to ourselves?
So true. And this source also really emphasizes separating worth from achievements.
Oh, yeah.
What can you unpack that a little bit?
I think this is so crucial. Our value, like as human beings, it's inherent, right? It doesn't depend on what we do or don't do, what we achieve or don't achieve.
It's like just because you have value.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what they're saying.
Exactly. And the source actually suggests, using things like affirmations or journaling to really drive that point home.
I love that. Think about some affirmations that really resonate with you. Things that remind you that you're worthy regardless of what you achieve. Maybe it's something like, I am enough, or I am worthy of love and respect.
Yes.
Write those down. Repeat them daily, almost like a mantra.
It might feel a little silly at first, but it can make a huge difference.
Okay, and there's one more strategy that they talk about that I want to make sure we touch on. They call it reflective practices.
Oh, yeah, this is a good one.
So what exactly are those, and how do they fit into all of this?
So, reflective practices are about creating space for self-awareness, but without judgment.
Okay.
So, it could be something like mindfulness or meditation, or even just taking some quiet time to check in with yourself. Notice your thoughts and feelings without getting swept away by them.
So just almost like taking a step back and observing yourself
Exactly.
without all that harsh criticism.
You got it.
It's like we're giving ourselves permission to just be. And the source, to wrap things up here, they make one last point that I think is really important, and that's about acknowledging our achievements, both big and small,
Yes,
which might seem obvious.
it does.
But it's kind of amazing how often we just rush on to the next thing.
Right, right.
Without taking a moment to really celebrate our wins.
And I think that's such a game changer. It makes the whole process of self-improvement feel more approachable, more enjoyable. And celebrating those wins helps build confidence and reinforce that positive mindset we've been talking about.
Absolutely. It's like telling ourselves, hey, I did that, and I'm proud of myself.
It's powerful.
So really the big takeaway here from this deep dive is that self-improvement and self-acceptance, they can go hand in hand. They should. It's not about choosing one over the other. It's about finding that balance.
That allows us to grow without losing sight of who we are.
Beautifully said. Well, thanks for joining me on this deep dive.
Of course.
And before we go, I want to leave you with something to think about. What's one small act of self-compassion you can practice today, even as you're working towards your goals? Think about it, and we'll see you next time for another deep dive.
It sounds good.